Good evening. This is Before It Was Headlines, It Was Prophecy. And I'm your host, Katie Elizabeth. As we talk about these riders on these four horses this evening, I would like to kind of begin with a passage I read in Leviticus this week pertaining to the covenant that Yehovah God gave the children of Israel after the deliverance out of Egypt. But in Leviticus 26, it speaks of the different things that would come to pass if they refused that covenant or if they intentionally broke that covenant. And one of the things that really caught me in the 25th verse of the 26th chapter, where it talked about them being gathered into cities. And of course, there's all sorts of, quote, conspiracy theories and all of that sort of thing. But I'm just sitting here saying, Scripture says it would happen. And I don't see how that takes a conspiracy to believe Scripture said it would happen. It's prophesied. We're clearly not. Even Israel is not governed by the Torah covenant. That's not happening anywhere on this earth. And I can't say what all the other countries are doing because I'm not there. But as an American, I can read the news and I can see what's going on in my own country. And I can say the very fact that, we all watched martial law in different situations come to pass, and it really did look like they were gathered into cities. They were gathered. You couldn't move. You couldn't leave. I've heard people talk about that after the hurricanes. I know at the tornado that was nearby, the Joplin tornado a couple of years ago, there were curfews. There was what was allowed, what was not allowed through that time. And I can truly say I'm connecting that. I don't think that's a conspiracy. I certainly don't think it requires that for prophecy to be fulfilled. And it certainly doesn't require that for people to all do their own thing and justify it. So with that being said, let's talk about this, the rider on the white horse. To conquer, and yet, the good guy wearing the crown. It's like, we're really appearing to be allowing ourselves to be conquered for our own good and safety. And that's not just America. There's a lot of European countries that I know are passing laws and a lot of, for the social good at the expense of the individual. And I'm not necessarily talking about financial expense. I'm talking about like our own personal space expense. So that's something that I see happening. That, the fact that the rider on this white horse has been released could very much be a part of that prophecy clear back in Leviticus, or that promise clear back in Leviticus that said, if you don't do it this way, this stuff's going to happen. So, and I truly believe that there was any nation on the earth that was observing and honoring the Torah, it would not be happening there. I really do believe that, but it is happening. And we really do appear to be willing to give up our freedom for what's proposed to be safety. Now, the rider on the red horse, let's face something right now. It says the peace would be removed from the earth. Well, you know what? What I'm seeing in the news and what I'm seeing individually and in towns and all across the world is, someone is always angry and someone is always afraid. And we've come to a point in our country, though, that we are seriously asking our government to discount citizenship. The voices that are speaking out are saying, and are basically saying someone should be presumed guilty until proven innocent. Well, nobody's going to have any peace under those circumstances. Not only will we lose peace, on a nationwide level, we're going to lose it on an individual basis if you really have to live your life in every aspect that you're presumed guilty until proven innocent. And we're seeing that in more and more areas of our lives anyway. And this is a big a big red flag that that rider on that red horse is really, affecting every part of this earth. I was amazed that, through the martial law, or the clampdown on Watertown in Massachusetts, that even the businesses were shuttered. The rider on the black horse, the scales, the economy. If businesses can't be opened, and if the only way to protect the businesses from looting and all of that in the case of crisis or calamity is to shutter them, we're looking at a real frightening effect on a very shaky economy as it stands already. And this is all coming from, let's just take a look at what could be happening as we are losing our, at the idea of martial law. Because I think that's going to be a part where then everybody's going to sit back and say, wow, I think the four horsemen of the apocalypse are on the loose here. Now, the other thing of martial law or a contained society is consider the rider on the power horse, and consider, when you've got a lot of people brought into close quarters, germs and bacteria spread very quickly through contained people. We can already see that with hospitals, nursing homes, daycares, whatever. I mean, one person have an issue, it spreads rapidly. And then, we could very easily go from that kind of containment to quarantined. I mean, this is really what we are looking at. And the only solution we have is to get back to the covenant. Because, once there's the quarantine, we're already seeing headlines that say, the superbugs, there are no antibiotics for the superbugs. Then you're looking at mass death and dying, which has also been prophesied. It doesn't really require much of a stretch of the imagination if we just follow the dots of the last few weeks. But what we have is the promise that if we return to the covenant, we'll be protected. And even the Revelation speaks over and over again of God's people being protected through this time. Now, not all of us, but, some of us will, we'll need it'll still be a timely end. But what I'm saying is, it does say that before things can happen, that Yud-Heh-Vah-Heh's people will be sequestered, protected. And the way to do that is to be in covenant with him. By his son Yeshua, Messiah, we can be forgiven. We can receive forgiveness. But then we have the Torah, which is what it is to follow him. And they go hand in hand. And that's something that, especially America as a so-called, quote, Christian nation needs to be seeing. We're not living in the blessing of Torah covenant at all. And I'm going to say, as a nation, we're not going to. But individuals can still choose to do that. And we are getting to a point of it's time to fulfill that scripture in the New Testament that says, come out from among them and be ye separate. This has been Before It Was Headlines, It Was Prophecy, with your host, K.D. Elizabeth.